podcasts do not necessarily reflect the views of the host and/or Paranormal Buzz Radio and/or its sponsors. Use of any material produced by Paranormal Buzz Radio without express written consent is prohibited. Paranormal Buzz Radio will not be held responsible for you holding your knees, crying, and rocking in a corner in a puddle of your own urine, or being beheaded by a group of children in a cornfield. In fact, if you come across a group of children in a cornfield, we promise to make fun of you as you run away screaming in terror. Listener discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, this is Darren Buss from the Paranormal Bus Stop, brought to you by Paranormal Buzz Radio. The Goose Gang is back. Myself, Darren Buss, Cynthia Gerodius, Ashley Storm, and Shay Carroll, where we talk about all things paranormal on a round table format. Come join us for some ghoulish fun.
Great intro.
Alrighty, folks. Welcome to Monday's Paranormal Bus Stop, brought to you by Paranormal Buzz Radio. So, we are doing a special video format of this radio show. And tonight, we have Mr. Thomas Huntzicker with us.
You're supposed to say something.
As Thomas doesn't say a word.
I'm here. Yeah, I wasn't planning on talking at all tonight. I'm just going to sit and stare. So, you're supposed to read my mind.
My telepathetic powers don't work tonight.
Cynthia, I was going to say, you know me well enough. You should be able to know what I'm thinking.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't, just make it up and I'll nod my head.
Okay. Works for me.
So, Ashley, how you doing today?
I'm so fucking cold. But it's only like 60 degrees, but I'm freezing.
Well, you're lucky you didn't get snow. We had snow up here.
I've already told y'all. It's your choice to live up north. When you deal with that crazy shit, don't complain to me.
I don't have a choice.
Bruh, everybody has a choice. Wait.
I
don't think Darren's permitted to live in other states by law.
Well, we'll make that happen at some point. Cynthia, how's your Monday going?
Good now that I'm off work.
Yeah. Definitely could understand that one.
No.
Hi, Lori. So tonight, what are we talking about, Thomas?
I believe we're talking about black mirrors tonight. At least that's what you told me I was talking about.
That is correct.
Hey,
there's a lot. I think there's a lot of people that don't really know about black mirrors or what it is. I had a friend of mine that asked me, like, what is that? And I says, well, you got to tune in tonight to figure that out. So
yeah, it's pretty simple. It's just a mirror that's black. And cut and a show.
There you go. All right, everybody. It was a great show. Not just kidding.
Bye, guys.
No, a black mirror is like a regular mirror. It just has the blackened glass. And it's used as a tool for scrying, among other things. It's been used since... there's accounts back to the Mayans. They've got pottery that has people using reflective surfaces, and the Aztecs had obsidian they used to scry, and then of course the psychomantium. The Greeks had the psychomantiums, which we can get into a little bit later. But yeah, it's a fascinating topic that dates way back to early history. So.
That's awesome. Yeah. So how did you really get into this? I mean, was it something that you were curious about, or is it just something you happened to see, like you were looking in a mirror and you were scrying unknowingly and you saw something? It's like, hey, let's try this.
Well, I've been fascinated with mirrors since a little kid. I remember when I was probably 4 or 5 or somewhere in there looking in the mirror and just thinking, wow, there's like another whole world in there. And it's just been something that kind of fascinated me. In graduate school, I studied transpersonal psychology, and we did a little bit of work with Dr. Moody, who brought back the psychomantium for grief and loss therapy. And he uses the mirror, not necessarily a black one, but that kind of triggered my interest. And then I just did more and more research and started formulating a book. And then, of course, the mirrors were coming into the dreams as I was studying it. So I was bringing a lot of information in through dreams. And it just kind of took off about 1.5 years ago.
So how was Dr. Moody?
Excuse me?
How moody was Dr. Moody?
You would have to ask him. he seems like a pretty cool guy. I do have on my YouTube channel. It's Oculus Obscurum Paranormal. I've got his documentary. It's a little bit older. It's called Seeing the Unseen, and he goes into all the psychomantium and his trips to Greece to study everything, and it's fascinating. It's free there if you guys want to check it out at some point. Lots of good information there, and it talks about how to build psychomantiums and use mirrors and all sorts of cool stuff. So a lot of my research is based on him. Of course, Dr. Moody coined the term life after death, which we're all familiar with, I would think. It kind of comes from him and his studies working with grief and loss patients. So, yeah.
Wow. So what do you guys got for questions for Thomas? I got the first two in.
Those were questions?
Those were questions. Come on, throw me a bone here.
Okay, so Thomas,
Yes.
enlighten us on what your Oculus Obscurum is.
Oculus Obscurum roughly translates as dark portal, and kind of reflects the use of the black mirrors. We use the black mirrors in two different ways. One would be the scrying, where a person sits in front of the mirror, looks into the reflective surface, and fixes their gaze into any shining object. It could be water or just anything that reflects, until images appear. And it could be images within the mirror or images in their own mind. And that's loosely called scrying. But we also use it in portal work. Because the black mirrors focus on transference of energy between one mirror to another, and that's kind of how we have this whole system of our network of portals going, and we can get to that in a little bit more in a bit. But I think the definition for reflection is an object like a mirror reflects light, heat, and sound, but it doesn't absorb it. But I kind of tend to disagree with that. I think that it does absorb and it can transfer to other areas, kind of like a Reiki master using long-distance healing. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. Sending the intention, which is essentially energetic waves, to another place and area. So after doing all this research, I was starting to have dreams about mirrors. And in one of my dreams, I stepped through the mirror and came out in another location, and it was on a location. Woke up, bam, thinking, we got to try this. So, of course, I got in touch with Josh Hurd and talked to Johnny Hauser at Villisca and Melbourne Manor, and we got 2 black mirrors installed there. I specially designed them, so I've got mirrors on the back to pull energy in and out, and we've had some amazing results just between those 2 locations so far. And I know, Darren, I sent you a couple pictures, but Josh Hurd's got some crazy stories, as well as I. The mirrors are open to use by any team that goes there. I want anybody to use them as much as possible. And we're currently installing them in other locations. We've got one in McIntyre Villa down in Kansas, Atchison, Kansas. And hopefully we can still get one down into Broken Bow Asylum if you're up for that. Maybe next spring.
We're ready, yeah.
Yep.
It was supposed to happen in September.
Yep. That fell through, but Rob and I are still, it's on the back of our minds. And then we've got,
sure it is, Thomas.
Talk to Rob. I wasn't even invited. I wasn't even invited on that trip. That was for him and Sarah's stream. So
I do have the pictures pulled up, so
okay, awesome.
And I just can't put it on here.
Oh, that's fine. Then we've got some other potential spots out on the East Coast that I'm not going to mention yet until it's set in stone. And I think Johnny Hauser was talking about he's got some people out on the West Coast that would totally be in this idea. Our ultimate goal is to have this complete network of haunted locations linked by these mirrors, amplifying energy back and forth, seeing what comes through. Just at McIntyre Villa, we had some energies come through that we knew were from Melbourne. Well, we assume were from Melbourne. Some names that came through. A Eunice, for anyone who's familiar with that. Eunice comes up. Yep, there I see some head shaking. Eunice came through with Tori. She was with us, Smith Westlake, and that was pretty amazing. Josh has got some amazing stories from what he's experienced there, but I could go on for days talking about everything that's going on.
Well, we do have an hour show.
Yeah.
So I'll throw up these pictures. Hopefully they translate to the screen.
Oh, thank God it's not my nudes.
Can you guys see that okay?
You know you can add it to the stream, right? Yeah, I'm gonna use
I've tried that before and I keep fucking it up, so
I'm gonna make a YouTube tutorial for you because if I can do it, you can
there's
do it.
another one.
There you go.
Yes, I love to learn.
I'm not quite sure what group took these down at Melvin Manor. The first one, they took down the Shadow Man hallway with the mirror closed. There's a veil we put over the mirror to close it so the energies can't come through, and it looks like a clear, crisp picture. Well, right away, they took the veil up, opened the mirror, and the next one, you can go to the next one, and all sorts of anomalies showed up. I thought that was fascinating.
I see the outline way in the back a little bit there.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Josh heard, and I think Rob is working on getting the names of the groups that took the pictures. This other picture, I don't know, you see, it looks like an image of a little girl there in period dress. That was taken near the mirror shortly after we installed it at Melbourne. And to me, and I talked with Josh about this too, it looks like one of the girls from Villisca, which is just really creepy. So that kind of thinks, okay, maybe the energies are moving back and forth between the locations.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that one's not maybe Catherine.
It could be. It could be. Originally, the night we activated the mirrors in both Villisca and Melbourne, Josh was in the hallway using the one there. I was in the attic at Villisca. And I actually was scrying down in the guest bedroom. And I saw an image of, looked like a doll, a little girl in period clothing. But after seeing that photo, I'm thinking maybe it was the girl I saw in the photo there. So it could be. We'll have to do some more research on that.
Hey, Paranormal Brew, how you doing? Yeah, I'm on a different network because I know that somebody else has their show at 7 o'clock. So, Paranormal Brew, no. Paranormal Question Day, no, I'm not doing that tonight. I've got to take a back seat because of this weekend's investigations. I'm burnt. So, I'll pick it up on Friday.
So my questions for you are, well, one, what is your end game in doing this?
The end game is pure research, just to see if this is happening. I am working on a book. It's pretty much done. We're just collecting evidence from other groups that have used the mirrors. We're going to add that all in there, and this will be volume 1. And as we add more locations, we'll continue the volumes with the different experiences that people have. We'll look for statistically significant information that appears. We'll have a website up where people can log their information and then check it with other locations and things that come through, like units coming through in different locations and things like that. It's just kind of a research project to see if this is actually happening and how big it can get the more locations we have linked together. So,
okay. Well, my next question is, do you not think it might be potentially dangerous to be mixing these energies with locations that themselves, like, okay, so a place is haunted because sometimes of what has happened there, right? Mm-hmm. Or people died in the building or whatnot. But a lot of the times it's the land itself, what has happened previously before these houses and these locations that we're actually investigating and are built, right? Mm-hmm. So if a spirit has an adverse reaction to that energy's location and you change its energy frequency by introducing it to something that has an adverse reaction, I mean, do you not think that that's potentially dangerous, crossing all of it? Like, 'cause I mean, these aren't like playgrounds in the term of, like, there are some locations where it's like real light and airy and it's just like, it's all around just kind of a nice, calm, cool time.
Right.
These places that you're connecting, including my location, are not for like beginners, or not places for those types of, what I'm saying? It's real intense things that happen at these places. It's potentially dangerous.
You're absolutely right. And I guess I would look for a definition of dangerous, what that would mean. Amplified energy, definitely a possibility. We do have the mirrors can easily be closed. I know that the owners are at any point can remove the mirrors. But paranormal is what we do. That's what we're looking for. We're just not looking for a regular, I want to go hang out at a spooky spot and see what happens. We want to see what potential there is for this transference of energy. And there's a lot of groups that will come through and they'll just close the mirror. They simply take the veil, drape it over the front, and nothing can come through or leave. There's cleansing processes. There's ways to close the mirror. Essentially, it's about intention. Of course, intention is energy in itself. If you're using the mirror,
things we can't control, regardless of your intention. When that spirit's in another location, like if one of my spirits were to go somewhere, and like one of the ones who feeds off of negativity and stuff were to go into Malvern or go into Villisca and just feed off of the horror there, and then come back and then be more aggressive in my location. You know what I'm saying? Like we're amping them up and then sending them back. Or like,
right.
There's a lot of different things.
And can they change? Can they change a spirit?
That's a possibility. And the thing is,
absolutely can. My location has proved that. That's why I'm interested to see how, like, have you had that happen yet? Like, have you noticed changes in the entities that go back and forth versus how they were before? Is that noted in the research? Like their activity, their demeanor, things like that in between locations, or how they act at one location?
At this point, it hasn't been noted. It's more of an appearance of the energy. I don't think anything sticks around any certain location. And I don't think that the entities necessarily would need the mirrors to transfer.
Do that. Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
but you're purposely asking them though. It's just like with anything, like with a Ouija board. I even think spirit boxes are the same thing. No matter what, you're asking for something to communicate with you and open it up. I'm just curious to see how they would change, because that's a very big. That's like giving them freedom and kind of seeing what they're going to do with it. Are they going to, do good or do evil with it?
Right.
Regardless if it's dead or human.
Yeah.
With great power comes great responsibility, my guy.
Exactly. It'll be interesting to see. That's a very good point. At this point, it's just been, like I said, appearances of energy. And when I say the word amplify, maybe that's the wrong term, because it's not amplifying the energy that's coming through. It's just adding more energy to it. There's a slight difference there. But, it's an excellent point. And wouldn't that be fascinating to document something like that happening?
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's why I want to be a part of it. Because I really think it's
all right.
brilliant.
Welcome to the project. We're going to put you on that aspect of it. So.
Okay. Because I already document like how the behavior has changed in my spirits, how they've grown. Like I really did not think that was possible.
Mm-hmm.
I did not think that was possible until I owned a location and actually saw that one-on-one interaction, continuous one-on-one interaction, and developing a relationship just like you would with a living human being, building trust and a repertoire with them, it really does change them, feeding them more positivity than negativity than they had in their life. You can actually change, like for people like Cynthia and I know what I mean, Sin, like the vibration of the spirits, right? Like they're either higher or lower, the ones that are more aggressive or just kind of like acting out or get out all the time.
Yeah, and you can definitely, affect the energy with whatever intent that you put into it,
Mm-hmm.
But they change like human beings would. You know what I'm saying? They grow and keep that change.
Yeah.
Their actions develop and their feelings develop. Like they go from being aggressive to being kind-hearted, and then
it's kind of like the nature versus nurture thing.
Huh?
It's kind of like the nature versus nurture thing.
Exactly. And the fact that it works with ghosts is fucking awesome.
Right?
So one of my concerns is I'm curious, okay? And I'm a curious guy.
Mm-hmm.
How would it work for a guy that has like me, has like only one eye to see out of?
That's exactly what I just said, because I'm curious about that. Is it not about the visual and more about it's there, regardless of whether you can see it or not, the mirror's there, right?
The sensory, yeah.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
And does color have anything to do with it, whether it's orange or a gray mirror? Does that have anything, or does it just have to be black?
It doesn't even have to be black. A mirror is a mirror. The reason I use black is because when you scry, you're not actually looking at your own reflection, and the use of a black mirror eliminates a lot of that reflection, and it's a lot easier to the trance states because you're looking deep into that dimensional reflection.
Do you ever lose yourself in it? Like lose loss of time and stuff?
Absolutely, all the time. That's very common. We've had some really interesting scrying sessions with people that are. We were up at Redwood Falls Museum one night with quite a few people, and I was guiding a husband and wife through a scrying session with a black mirror, and we were using isochronic tones as well. And I let them have it, and I stood out the side of the door, and about 5 minutes later, I heard this screaming. I run in there, and he's all balled up in a little corner. He had regressed because he was seeing these things moving in the mirror and then coming out, and then right in front of his face. It took him a while to get over that, but he just absolutely loved it because that validated some of his experiences and his belief in the paranormal. What was it? We don't know. He's actually writing up a section for the upcoming book that he'll have in that, so you can read his experiences firsthand.
So none of these can really come out and just like grab you and attack you. It's just more of a mental mind feed, correct?
Not necessarily. With Dr. Moody's psychomantium, people will be in the psychomantium looking into the mirror, very low light, and what's very common is they start seeing a haze in the mirror. Then the mirror starts to move outside of the mirror and into the room. And the same thing with if they see a spirit or a face, it can come into the room. Now, when I was at Villisca, after we activated the mirrors, we had the black mirror down in the guest bedroom, and I had a full psychomantium up in the attic with a very large mirror and a motor box and everything. And played the isochronic tones, and I was in a trance. About 15 minutes minimum 15 minutes is what it takes to scry, sometimes longer. And after about 15, 25 minutes, I felt a hand on my shoulder behind me, and it was very calming and relaxing, and it didn't move. It wasn't like a tap. It was just set on there. And it was like, it must've been 6 or 7 seconds. And it was very calming. I felt like somebody was there just to kind of watch over me. So yeah, everyone's going to have different experiences with it. And is it possible for something to actually come out? Potentially.
Freaked the shit out of me.
Yeah, well, like I said, the isochronic tones, I don't know if you guys are familiar with hemisync, Dr. Monroe's work with hemisync. It's the binaural beats where you have a tone in one ear and a slightly different tone in the other ear. And then in the middle, it creates this vibration, and it's supposed to synchronize both the left and the right half of the brain. Isochronic tones is the same type of technology, except that you don't necessarily need the headphones. You hear that vibration. And it's very relaxing, and that helps that you're not in that fear state. It's more of a relaxed state. And those are the types of things you want to do as in a therapeutic setting with somebody who's working like with grief and loss or wants to make contact with the past one. So it wasn't fearful at all. Tina Tibbetts had an experience right after I did there. She was with me. I think you'd have to ask her what happened, but she wasn't fearful at all either. It was just very, very relaxing tones, and we'll have to talk about it at another point. That's another whole story.
Okay.
It's definitely an interesting experience. I mean, when I did it at Melbourne, it got weird on me, but you have to be able to sit there and also while you're doing it, figure out what your mind is putting in there and what you're actually seeing. Yep. Because with Kim sitting next to me and her hearing somebody trying to come out of the room right next to her while I'm scrying, it put a flash of, and it's freaking hilarious because it put a flash of the demon dogs from Ghostbusters.
Oh yeah, Zool. That's right.
Yeah, it put a flash of one of those in there, and I'm like, no, that's me. It's something that you also kind of have to keep in mind that you need to kind of, right after you're done, record down what you saw, what happened and all of that, so you can sort out what was in your head and what you may have actually seen.
Yep. I always recommend journaling afterwards.
Yeah, because when I was scrying, I got a purple mist coming out of the mirror and just filling the entire space that I was in. And I don't know exactly what it was. I mean, it didn't manifest into anything, but nobody else saw it.
That's interesting because we we incorporated some other tools with the mirror for both the scrying aspects and the portal aspects. And one is this large lantern I make. It's got about a 7-foot flickering flame. And when that's set next to the black mirror and you look at the reflection of the flame in the mirror and this big flickering, almost instantaneous trance. You've got to try that sometime, Cynthia. It's very effective. But we also brought these, as you see one of the large singing bowls in the back. I've got 2 of them. They're about 20 inches. One is keyed to C and the other one is keyed to C sharp. Half note difference when you play them both at the same time and sit in between them. It creates that binaural beat thing that synchronizes both sides of the brain. And we were doing that at Melbourne with Josh and Rob. In front of the mirror, and after a couple minutes of playing those bowls, we started the whole hallway filled with mist. We couldn't figure it out. We tried to debunk it. It looked like smoke, but it wasn't coming from anything. There was no burning thing. Eventually it dissipated. There was another group that came in after us and they saw it too. I checked in with them later. They said it dissipated, but then it came back later when they were using the mirror. So that's fascinating too, that you had that similar experience there.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And I mean, like I said, when I had, the thing that I did was I also took part of that session and stuck the headphones in and was doing an Estes where Kim was asking the questions. I was looking in the mirror and doing the headphone thing. And some of the stuff that I was getting was just weird. I mean, voices and just, you know, odd sounding voices and screams and I was actually getting a few of the responses to her questions that she was wanting, but I mean, there was so much going on because you have that channel open.
Right. You know, something else that I find fascinating too is watching people doing the scrying with the tones and the flickering light and their physical reactions, the rocking that starts happening after they enter that trance state. I know, Cynthia, we saw the girls doing that in the 3rd floor of Bango Crib. When I was at McIntyrville, everyone was just most of the places I go with that setup, people start doing the rocking and they're just in that deep trance. You can just tell. It's just fascinating how quick that works. But yeah.
So these mirrors that it's really not for someone that has ADD, is it? Because that they can't really concentrate fully. So I would not recommend someone that has a high ADD to do that. Correct?
It makes no difference who does it.
Okay.
It just depends on what you're like I said. Someone with ADHD, I would take there. I would use the lantern, the flickering lantern, as well as the isochronic tones, or even the headsets and the binaural beats, because that really focuses you. So I would actually probably recommend it for somebody who's got scattered thoughts.
Okay.
I'm one of those people, and it works for me. In fact,
well, I was just wondering because the attention span is so short.
Yeah.
But see, if you give them something to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that makes a difference, Darren. If you give them something to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even a you don't even have to be aware of trying to focus. It just happens naturally. You've got that deep space within the other side of the mirror. You've got the sound, and then you've got, you know, if you use the candle or the lantern, all that mixed together just puts you in that trance so quick. It really synchronizes your brain to get working. So
I definitely have to try it. I'm curious.
And everyone's going to have a different experience. There's no right or wrong way to use it. You know, I always tell people use it intuitively. I can give them recommendations of different ways to try it, but you can read books and some people say do it this way, do it that way, but there really isn't any specific way. Use your own intuition, use what you're guided to do, and then change it up if you need to.
So what if you have like multiple, like how many is like for like a normal sized bedroom, so to speak? How many would you allow to be in that room, and how would you set that up?
I've got 2 black mirrors in my room right now, one behind me and then one over here. In the basement, you know, I guess let's talk a little bit more about this network first.
Sure.
Each location's mirror is connected to another mirror. That mirror is in my basement connected to a mirrored box and a large psychomantium mirror. It's kind of like the motor or the engine. And they're all faced in towards each other. So all this amplified energy moving back and forth. So down there, I've got, I think, 5 plus the giant mirror and the box all facing each other. I haven't noticed any major changes in the house, but I can definitely go sit down in the hub and tell which locations are open and which locations are closed sometimes just by the feel of the energy moving around. There's stories about people facing mirrors together, opening up portals. Well, yeah, maybe, but mirror's a portal without another mirror. What it does do is amplify the energy moving back and forth if you face them towards each other. A lot of it is just play with it, use your intuition. If it doesn't feel good or if it's uncomfortable, don't do it. It's fascinating, like places like Velisca, who they cover all the mirrors in the house just because they feel that the energy is still there from the incidents.
It'd be interesting if you like stream a live version of you down there just surfacing, all the mirrors and what's going on, and say, hey, this mirror is what's going on there, this mirror is what's going on there. On a live feed, I think people would find that really interesting. What do you think, guys?
Yes.
That's one of our goals, is to have, like once or twice a year, have all these locations, specify that night to work together, live stream from each location, and then just kind of compare notes and energies, try different experiences or experiments. We'll definitely do some live streaming for sure.
All right. That's so cool. Ashley, you got some questions or stuff you want to talk about?
No, our next one was going to be about sensory deprivation, but you kind of covered that already.
Okay. Cynthia?
We can certainly talk more about that. I love sensory deprivation. It's one of my favorites.
Sin said she did the Estes method, but because it is a visual experiment of sorts, what lakes have you gone to, or like do you have any other implements in place that you're going to try to do, basically blocking out every other sense but vision to heighten that one sense that you need for that experiment, basically, while having, I guess, like others in the room, to do recordings and captures of audio and visual things like that, aside from just you in the mirror.
Their noise canceling headphones are great, and you just have no noise if you can, just earmuffs or something. I want to point out too that using the mirrors isn't necessarily a visual thing. You can sit in front of the mirror and not have to look in it. You can pay attention to what's going on in your mind, and you're kind of just feeding off the energy that's coming out of the mirror. For most people, it's a visual thing, but it doesn't necessarily have to be.
So have you ever gone completely
dark?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like
absolutely.
all senses.
As much as we can. I'll be in Melbourne again in a couple of weeks, and that Shadowman hallway is one of the quietest hallways. There is one of the darkest hallways I've ever been into, and I'm going to attempt to maybe try some stuff there as well. But yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of. You're onto some good stuff there too. If you've got any suggestions for things to try, please let us know, because we're always looking for new things.
I have like a whole fucking notebook that you can have.
Awesome. I'm really excited to get down there now.
Part of it, like I've always been able to see them and hear them and whatever witchy woo you want to fucking call it, but I'm a scientist, so that part that corroborates everything that I experience, it's made me feel crazy my whole life. The scientist in me that can back that up and be like, see, I told you I'm not fucking crazy.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I'm kind of similar. My background's in psychology, so I analyze everything. I'm what you call an open-minded skeptic. I'm open to the possibility, but until I experience it for myself and can validate it and not debunk it, it may not necessarily be real. But it's part of the fun of it too, is trying to analyze and say, was this really me? Is it this fear factor that's projecting it out into this experience, or is it just, there's all sorts of.
I guess it kind of brings, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you,
No,
but if I get this out, I'm going to forget how to phrase it. So do you guys kind of do like blind studies instead of people who do it constantly, like yourself and Robert and Sarah and Cynthia and the same people who like own the location? Do you guys ever do at the same time throughout multiple locations blind studies with it, that they don't know any of your experiences beforehand, so they are not swayed into thinking they're having an experience they're not. Like, that forethought that's put into people's minds when they go into a location, like everyone always hears murder in this hallway, so I heard murder. Or really, when you go back and listen to it 3 months later, they really said burger, but you were just swayed by the power of persuasion of everyone else catches this, so I must have too.
Right. Yeah, I try to reach out to the groups that I know are going to be there. And then a lot of times I'll go sit in the hub in the basement and just see what I can pick up on. But as we get this website up and I'll be able to pick up on which groups are where, it'll be a lot easier to get the reports for them without them knowing who's at another location. So it's a little bit more of a blind study. And then we can look for that statistically significant
exactly. That's
information.
Being to where it's a blind study rather than having everyone be contaminated by that forethought. Yeah,
we're still in the baby phase right now. We just installed the mirrors last May, so we've got a long ways to go. But as the network grows, we'll have teams put different sorts of information together from the studies. And
is Craigslist still a thing?
Craigslist? I don't know.
Because you just put out ads on like just random sites and Craigslist and be like, "Do you want?"
It's still a thing.
You don't get paid, but you might get the shit scared out of you.
Right. That's not a bad idea.
Right. I'm saying that would actually be, because as investigators going into this, we are automatically more open to these things happening to us. Even the teams that have skeptics, even though they say they're skeptics, most of them have been in enough locations that regardless of whether or not they're skeptic, they're still open to the energies and experiences in a location. If you got someone who didn't do this at all and sat them in that room, I'd be very interested to see what why the fuck am I seeing this shit? I'm like, oh, okay, so you see it too, and just writing down little notes like from behind the mirror, like they're laughing at.
And you're actually onto a good point too, because a lot of people who utilize the mirrors are aware what the project is, so they they don't go into it blind. Some places, and I do have a binder at each location that talks about the information and what the objective of the Paranormal Portal project is. But I know some locations don't put their binders out. It would be nice to have that information offered at the end of the investigation to see if, okay, I get it now, as a possibility. But that's the biggest thing too, is that it's the people that know about the mirrors are already have those expectations of what's potentially could happen.
Right.
Malvern has their binders sitting out in the kitchen.
Okay. I think Johnny sometimes keeps his in his office in the barn, and I know that Steph at McIntyre keeps hers in one of the bedrooms. She doesn't have it out. I almost have to ask, but I'm going to put a little sign below her mirror there. It says "Ask Steph about the Paranormal Portal project," and then they can ask after they leave if they want.
Yeah. So. Malvern's has theirs right by the notebooks that they have out for everybody to write their experiences in.
I was just going to bring that up.
So, it's there.
Do you ever have like the same experience, or is every time you do it, is it completely different?
You would have to talk to people. For me, it's different almost all the time.
Okay.
But I also go into it with different intentions, and that's the key. What intention are you going into it with? I need to reach out to Kat Armstrong, because I know that she's used the mirrors at Villisca and Malvern quite often, and I need to kind of follow up with her and see what she's kind of experience she's had.
She likes. I mean, we talk about it a lot when we go investigating and stuff. So she's very intrigued by it and wants to do more, because they do that at Broadhead on smaller mirrors. They'll scry on smaller mirrors. So maybe if you want to reach out to Bill Walter from Broadhead and see if maybe he'd be interested in something like that.
Absolutely. And that's another thing too. If anybody knows a location owner that might be interested in it, hook me up. It's a lot of work to try and track people down and get this set up. Then, of course, it's having the financial ability to travel everywhere to install them is another whole issue. But we're definitely up for getting as many as we can.
I'll talk to Lori at the museum and see what her thoughts are on that.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, what I worry about the most at the museum is Ed and Augusta Geen. Because I don't want them to think, okay, they can just go to a different location. If it so happen it does, how bad would that screw up another location? Because what their characteristics are.
When I design the mirrors for each location, I can actually use sigils and intention to block certain energies coming through.
Okay.
So, it would just take some time, but it's a possibility to block certain energies from moving from one spot to the other, for sure.
Okay. So I'll talk to her, and I'll talk to Bill too.
It'd be really cool to get Ed Gein over to Velisca.
I don't know. I think that would, that would be a problem. I think
maybe he could give us some answers that we've all wanted, like who.
I don't know. I'm kind of stuck on that one.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen Cynthia, she was shaking her head no. So
we're fairly selective about the locations we put these into as well. Some of the extreme ones we probably won't go for. The ones that are very, like some of the museums, we probably won't go for because they have a lot of historical stuff rather than just, like the Redwood Falls Museum up in Minnesota. I'd love to put one in there, but everything there is all historical artifacts, so our mirrors don't really fit in. Mm-hmm. Although we've used the black mirrors there before, we just haven't installed one.
Well, the Stevenson building's got mirrors in it too. They got a mirror room, correct?
The which location?
The Stevenson building.
They might have. I know I reached out to Christy at one point about putting one in there, and that kind of fell through for now.
They've got a makeshift psychomantium put up in there.
Yep. And I know that Josh has talked about there's a little closet on the second floor that would be perfect for psychomantium. He's talked about doing that. I might even bring a mirror down for that in a couple of weeks. McIntyre Villa's got a great mirror room. There's some intense energy in there. That little tiny thing across from one of the upstairs rooms.
I gotta get there. That place looks awesome.
It's amazing. Never disappoints. That's another thing. I did talk to Steph last week, and we are going to move eventually, probably this spring, the large hub out of my basement. I gotta get it out of here. And into McIntyre Villa for a year. And then what we'll do is we'll move that hub around from location to location for a year at a time. And then people can actually not only use the mirror that's on the second floor, they can actually go sit in the hub and just see what they can pick up. We've been looking at maybe partitioning off a part of the attic, or we'll find a spot. But she's excited to have that down there. And so people actually get to see the hub in person.
Interesting.
I'm sorry to interject, but I already told Darren, but I got to go because I hear my kids screaming my name, and Dada ain't cutting it right now, apparently. Okay. And it's breaking my heart to sit here and listen to him go.
Right.
Hey, family first. Family first.
Thank you very much, Thomas. It was awesome to hear more about this, just like, versus the emails we've exchanged very briefly about it. So this is awesome, and I'm super excited to get this.
Well, you've got some great ideas, and I look forward to working with you on this.
Me too. Yeah. You're a wizard and a scientist, just like me.
Can't wait to talk more.
Me either. Sin, love you, Darren. Love you, man. Y'all have a great night.
Thank you for stopping in. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's our show.
I know.
Bye.
See you later. So now there's three of us.
And then there were three.
Cynthia, what kind of questions you got to fire away with? I'm sure you're just sitting there waiting.
She's already asked me all of her questions. I see her more often.
Yeah, I've gotten most of my questions out. I think one of the really cool experiences, though, that I can interject with using the portable black mirror that you have and then doing the one down in Malvern, when we were doing the Estes up on the third floor in Bango, I kind of, from a distance, was doing my scrying. Mm-hmm. And it was really weird because, you guys all saw me jump and catch that flash of that face. And I almost got the same feeling down at Malvern through that mirror of the feeling that I had when I saw the female face to the side of me sitting up in Bango.
Cynthia, that's a really interesting point, because that makes us think, okay, is it the intention of the person that's pulling the energy from another area?
Mm-hmm.
Is that is it Cynthia sitting at Melbourne pulling the Bango energy in? It'd be interesting to find out for sure.
See, yeah, that's something that I was curious about too, because we did Bango the night before I went to Melbourne, and then sitting at Melbourne, it was interesting to have the same type of feeling that I had, sitting up on the third floor at Bango, sitting in the Shadow Man hallway in Melbourne, because it just shows that, you can pull energy from anywhere in through those mirrors.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think part of it too, I'm not 100% sure that I didn't have one of the little girls from Velisca around me either. But that's another thing that I'll talk to you about later, Thomas, because that's kind of one of the reasons why I was discussing what I was discussing with you today.
Gotcha. We'll definitely touch base on Saturday.
Yeah. But it's interesting because, you wouldn't think that you would be able to, or that you would consciously try and pull energy from Bango into Melbourne, or you wouldn't think that you would consciously try to pull energy from the McIntyre into Velisca. It's just so fascinating how that energy moves and works, and how it can show up at the most random times in different places.
Well, and the thing we need to contemplate too is the sensations and the experiences you had at Bango. Were those really from Bango? Because that portable mirror is connected to the hub, which is connected to all the other mirrors. So are you pulling stuff in? Yeah, it's going to be hard to tell. I mean, what it's going to take eventually is an expert who's been using all the mirrors and sitting in the hub, who can, can tell the difference in the energies to really say, okay, this is what energy is coming from here. This is what energy is coming from here.
And from there,
and hopefully we'll have some of those experts eventually that can do that.
That will be.
This is not my project. This is just a project I started. I want all sorts of people to come into this, bring in their ideas and their experiences.
Yep. Yep.
Did you ever have anything that scared the shit out of you and it's like, hey, I gotta stop this for a little bit?
Me, no, very little scares me anymore.
I know you've been around doing this for the 90s and stuff, so
yeah, well, 80s actually.
Well, I didn't want to date you.
We could probably go back further than the 80s too. Thanks, Darren. Now I lost my train of thought. Thanks.
Leave it up to the blind man.
Nothing scares you.
Well, I shouldn't say nothing scares me. Very little scares me when it comes to paranormal stuff too. Do I get uneasy feelings? Yes, but I'm eager to push myself because I want to know. I want to experience. Yeah, I mean, I know Josh is the night he tells the story best, but the night he used the mirror for the first time while I was at Velisca and he was at Melbourne, his plan was to stay in Melbourne all night, and he got too intense. He was out of there.
Yeah, he doesn't stay in Melbourne by himself very well.
Yep. I don't blame him.
Well, yeah. I don't know that I could. I don't know that I could do it by myself. Because there's way too much that can happen that you would at least want to have one other person there.
Well, Kimmy wants to do it by herself for a week.
Yeah. It's nice to have that validation because then you experience something. Okay, was that in my head or was it an actual phenomenon? So it's always nice. I like to investigate in twos,
Yeah, exactly. Then you at least have somebody else that can go, okay, no, you were just seeing stuff.
That would get you outside if you need to get outside.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. If you go paranormal investigating, yes, it's okay to leave the building, but always go back. I mean, otherwise, what do we do it for?
Right?
Oh yeah.
Darren?
Oh yeah.
Just like me at Edinburgh, I was scared of the boiler room. I stepped foot in it, I walked around it, but I did not investigate it.
Yeah.
So I want to go back, and now I have to investigate it because I won't. How would I know if I get pounced on or not?
Right.
Yeah.
And for me, getting pounced on, I'm all for that. It's like, wow, that's validates an experience. But I'm sometimes a little more extreme than others. Just
yeah.
Oh yeah.
You do it for so long, and you want more to happen.
Well, at
definitely.
some point, maybe. So we are coming to the top of the hour soon. So what you got going on for the rest of the year, and just let everybody know how they can get a hold of you.
I will be playing with Black Mirrors for the rest of the year. I've only got one actual investigation left, and that's at Malvern Manor the weekend of Halloween.
Ooh.
Unless something else pops up.
I want to go.
It's not my event otherwise. I'd say
I know.
And I'm open to, if anyone else wants to invite me along, I'm open to other places too.
Okay.
As far as contacts, you can find me on Facebook, Thomas Huntzicker, or the Oculus Obscurum Paranormal. We've got a page there. We've got TikTok. We put a lot of cool videos on. We've got 3 videos of Josh Hurd talking about his experiences at Malvern and the Shadowman hallway with the mirror. Instagram, we're on that. OOP Paranormal, and pretty much all socials. Just you can find us. So
interesting.
But if anyone is interested in or has any experiments they want to try out or ideas for things, hit me up. We're always open to trying new things with new people. And if you have used the mirrors and you've had an experience, please hit me up too. We would like to include any information we can on our website or even in the book potentially. But most importantly is we want to compare it to other experiences too. Check the dates and the times to see if anything correlates, that type of thing too. So yeah, awesome. We're still a baby project, but we've got a lot of growing to do. But we'll get there.
You got lots of time for growth.
Yeah.
Cynthia, what do you got coming up for the next rest of the year?
I forgot. I've got the Bango event in memory of Rolly next week. And that's a Cynthia's event that is absolutely amazing. And we're still disappointed in you, Darren, for skipping out this year.
Hey, you know what? I could possibly do a StreamYard with everybody.
The reception's not real great out there.
No.
Damn it.
No. But
I don't have another 100 questions.
Maybe.
Yeah. And Cynthia, if there's room in the paranormal area, if there's room for me to put an easel with one of the black mirrors there just on display, I've got some pamphlets to hand out if anyone's interested in learning more about the project.
I'm pretty sure there probably will be, and if not, we can make room.
It doesn't take up much space.
I mean, you could probably. We'll discuss it on Saturday. Okay. I'm pretty sure I know where we could put it. Just bring it with you.
Okay.
Just bring it with you, and I'm sure we can. We'll find a spot for it.
Yeah, it takes up very little room. It's just a iPod with so. Okay.
Yep, no problem. Let's see. I have coming up this weekend on the 22nd, which is Saturday. We have the 3rd annual Paranormal Night at Bango Haunted Crib in Shaler, dedicated to Roland. After that, my next is the week before Thanksgiving in the Quad Cities, which is Paranormal Expo. Other than that, I really don't have anything booked right now. I am always willing to tag along with people if they want us to tag along. Just kind of in the planning stages for next year and trying to get things up and going. And I've got a couple of residential cases that I need to look into, that we need to look into, Mr. Thomas.
I'm just waiting for the call.
Yeah, we will discuss that one more on Saturday too.
Yeah, I forgot. I think Rob is going to maybe set something up in November up in Minnesota. I'll have to follow up with him to see if he ever did that or not. But that might be another one I do. So
awesome.
And then I'm back to McIntyre Villa a few days before Christmas. I forgot all these things. Yeah, I'm excited about that.
Very cool.
If weather permitting, anyways.
Yeah.
Right. So not much going on this end except for radio shows and
you had a big weekend.
Yeah, I had a big weekend. Was just at Edinburgh and Friday, Edinburgh Manor, sorry, and then I was at Broadhead Manor on Saturday. So, yeah, I'm a little burnt, to say the least.
Well, Broadhead is on my list of places to hit. If you wanted to maybe talk to them and about the project,
yes, we'll get something worked out there. He's very easy to work with. Like I said, he's right now he's going to be shutting it down in November after his next 5 events, and then he'll be reopening it up in March, and then April he's got a Paracon going on. So
cool.
Great.
So I'll probably be there for the Paracon. But other than that, I got, let's see, the 12th right now as pending that everything goes on okay on my end. We'll be doing a first ever day investigation at the Washoe County Historical Museum in Watonga, Wisconsin. And then from there, maybe another time in December. But after that, that's pretty much done. I'm done for the year, except for the Facebook Lives on Mondays and Fridays for the Paranormal Question of the Day. And now, I'm going to do a plug here for Paranormal Buzz Radio. Every third Monday of the month, you can catch us on Spreaker.com or sometimes here on StreamYard, however it works out. But normal time is 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. Tonight, 7 o'clock worked out better. So, but other than that, that's about it. So,
well, thanks for having me on, Darren. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Got to get the word out, That's how people can find you.
Yeah.
Get things going. I mean, I'm sure my friend Bill will watch us later back and during the week and stuff, and I'm sure he'll contact me because he's heard me calling his name plenty of times. So, but I'll talk to Lori on the 12th and see how she feels about it, and then we can possibly go from there. So
awesome.
So with that, I thank you guys, everybody, for joining us for this edition of video for the Paranormal Bus Stop. And like I said, you can catch us every third Monday of the month. Anything else you want to throw in there, Cynthia?
Not at the moment.
Come see Raven Rose on Saturday.
Yes, come see Raven Rose on Saturday in Shaler.
Alrighty. So with that, with the close, I bid you all adieu, and thank you for joining us tonight, and you all have a great week. So long, everybody.